Hello guys, I'm on this channel. Today we're going to rank all 5 Indiana Jones movies. Not much to say, but go check out my Tarantino movie reviews, whatever. And then Christopher Nolan movies reviews should start soon. I'm going to see Oppenheimer tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. So let's get started. Coming in number 5 is going to be Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This one's not, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's like okay. The first half of this movie, pretty much until they get captured by like the Russians and the whole alien skull thing, that it's pretty good pretty much until you get to that final battle car chase, where in theory it should be good, where you like it's actually kind of fun, but then the problem is it's mixed in with some of the worst CGI ever, with the monkeys, the ants, the tree branches, you got Shia LaBeouf swinging. It just doesn't work, and the whole tying in of the alien invasion story, I just didn't like that at all. And as a whole, it just didn't really work that well for me. There's some good things. I think the first half of it, that whole chase through like, was it Cambridge? I don't know, somewhere in New York. I thought that was pretty cool. I think the first hour of it, I actually think is pretty good. And then, but like once we get to that car chase, it just kind of falls off the rails as it gets in the end. But I feel like this one, it could have been good, but yeah, well, the problem with this one is that like it just, the whole alien invasion plotline is kind of also really what ruins it, and it just didn't need that. It could have just been like find the Crystal Skull or something, I don't know, something more interesting, but like because they threw that in, I feel like it just kind of throws this movie off a bit and taps into some territory that I don't really want. Harrison Ford's good. I actually like Shia LaBeouf as Mutt here, and bringing Marion back was a good idea. So overall, I don't hate this movie, but it's by far my least favorite of these movies. Actually, it's not by far. At number 4, we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I think this one's a good bit better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I think there are fun elements here. It's fun. I think I think most, the majority, the four of the 5 fifths, or 4 to 5 fifths of this movie, I'd say is actually a pretty good Indiana Jones movie. Sure, is there a little bit too much CGI? Sure, is it hard to believe Harrison Ford in this role at 80 years old? Yes. But at the same time, it's interesting to see him as a aged character where like he was this fun adventurer. Now he's like kind of worn out, just wants to retire and doesn't know what to do with his life. So it's kind of interesting to see him in that phase of life. But at the same time, it kind of takes away where like you want to be Indiana Jones. That's what it was like in the first few movies. But now it's kind of taken away. I like Mads Mikkelsen as the villain here. I actually think he's pretty good. I like the whole like opening scene with like the train and getting the whole dial and whatever. I thought that whole bit was a lot of fun. And then as you get to like and then you have this whole like Dial of Destiny thing that's supposed to be like really interesting. And then by the end, you're supposed to be like wowed by everything. And you're going back, and it's just like back to Roman times, Julius Caesar and everything. And then I watch it, and then there's like a whole conversation with Archimedes, and then you're supposed to be like wowed by it, but like it just didn't have that value. It had like the ending is really what killed it. It just ended on such a weird note, and if the ending was better, I think like this movie actually, I don't know if it would shoot up a spot because the top 3 are all amazing, but it'd give it some more points, that's for sure. But as a whole, I don't dislike this movie. I still think it's pretty good, but I think it just could have been better. At number 3, we got Temple of Doom. I think this one's fantastic. They're the top 3, they're all amazing, but of the 3, I think this one's my least favorite because I think it's probably the least rewatchable of the 3. This one's the darkest one by far, where you have children being like enslaved and murdered, hearts being ripped out, the whole monkey brain scene. There's just so many like iconic bits in this movie that are both like a lot of fun but also like kind of terrifying at the same time. There's like some small horror elements kind of mixed in here. But as a whole, I think this one, from the opening scene, this one's a lot cheesier than the first one was, where I feel like the first one's a lot more timeless, which I think is a little odd for here. But you have the whole action sequences in the temple. In particular, you have the minecart sequence. That sequence is, other than maybe the car chase and Raiders, that might be the second best action sequence in the entire franchise. You also have the bit on the bridge. And Short Round is a lot of fun. He's one of my favorite characters in the franchise. I wish he returned to some extent, but you know. And the interesting thing is that this one's technically a prequel of the first one, which I think is interesting, which I think actually makes sense, where I think this one's like Shanghai 1935. That was like sometime in 1936, 7. I don't know. They're pretty close in between, but yeah, I do think this one's actually I really enjoyed it. I think every time I see it, it's always a lot of fun here. Harrison Ford's fantastic in the role as always, and yeah, just the story's fun. The villain's like nothing special. The whole temple tombs like that, I'm not the biggest fan of. But as a whole, it just Spielberg delivered another one of these great movies. Is it as good as the first one? I don't think so. But is it a damn good adventure movie? Yes. Coming in number 2, we got Last Crusade. This and Temple, even maybe Raiders, are all kind of go back and forth. But I think this one lands right in the middle because, well, it's fun to see Sean Connery. And if you know the whole story, it's fun. If you know the whole story of how Indiana Jones got created, where Spielberg wanted to do Bond movie, but then Lucas had this other great idea. It's like, once you know that, it's like, oh, wait, perfect casting. And I think Connery is fantastic in this role as Indiana Jones' dad. And yeah, just the way it all plays out, just a lot of fun. The way that their like whole dynamic when they're in Venice, pretty much everywhere. It all just works. It's all just a lot. It's all just a lot of fun. You also have the whole scene where they're with the tanks. That's great. The whole ending works. The only problem with this movie is that I feel like compared to Raiders and even Temple of Doom, it doesn't have that like one standout bit that just keeps me there. I just never thought it did. I mean, there's a bit of the tanks. It's a lot of fun, but I don't think it's as good as I don't think it's on par with those two action sequences and the minecart and the car chase in Raiders. So I don't think it's quite on par with those, but still, I think this one's a ton of fun. It's always great. It's the most lighthearted of all of them. I think it's the funniest because of the dynamic between Sean Connery and Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford's always great in the role. And as a whole, I think this is another banger for the Indiana Jones franchise. But at number 1, I gotta go with Raiders. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I rewatched it just recently, and it hits every time I see it. It's just so much fun to see this. Like it's fairly timeless. I would say it feels like a lot more timeless than the other two, or at least more so than Temple of Doom. But as the pacing of a modern movie, it just like this is probably the best. This might be the best paced movie of all time. It's just the way it all plays out. It moves at such a consistent speed, and just the way it like speeds up at times, it slow downs. You get great action sequences. I think every action sequence here is memorable in some capacity. You have I don't even need to mention the car chase where that whole sequence is just amazing, and the way it ended, it's just great. It's just great. I think this movie is the best adventure movie of all time, one of the best movies of all time, purely. And Ford's great. Everybody's just amazing in the role. It's just every time I watch it, I just have a grin on my face from beginning to end, and it's just really just one of the best movies ever made. So I talked about this movie more, but I'm trying to think what else to say. I don't know. If I had one critique, I don't think the villain's like overly interesting, but I don't really care because I'm not here for the villain. I'm here for the fun action, Harrison Ford, and Indiana Jones. I think is really just one of the best movie characters of all time in general and I can't even really pinpoint why. I think just Harrison Ford's just a lot of fun in the role. He's not always like the hero. He's there for mainly just the artifacts, but sometimes ends up being the hero in the end, which I think is always fun. So I wouldn't say accidentally being the hero, but I'm just going on. So yeah, I really enjoy this movie. It's fantastic. It comes in at number 1. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Go check out my Tarantino reviews and whatever is coming soon. So yeah, see you guys next time. Adios.